All right, let's kick off another deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling a question that I'm sure has crossed everyone's mind at some point. City life or village life?
It's the classic debate, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And our source material for this one might surprise you. It's actually a YouTube video.
Oh, interesting. A documentary?
Not quite. It's actually designed to help people learn English. It's like an English as a second language lesson.
Yeah, I see. A language learning video.
Right. But tucked within this language lesson is a pretty insightful conversation about the pros and cons of each lifestyle. I mean, it really got me thinking.
I can see how that could happen. Sometimes the most unexpected places can spark these thought-provoking conversations.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to dive into today.
Sounds fascinating.
So the speakers in this video start with a pretty simple question. Do you like village or city life? What about you? Which do you prefer?
Ah, that's a tough one. I can see the appeal of both, really.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what makes this conversation so interesting. One of the speakers jumps right in, praising the peacefulness of village life, the connection to nature, the close-knit community.
That sense of community is a powerful thing, isn't it? It really speaks to that basic human need for belonging.
Absolutely. And the speaker in the video even talks about how villagers are always ready to lend a hand when someone's in need. They really emphasize that support system.
Makes you wonder if that sense of community is stronger in a village setting where everyone knows each other. Do you think you could have that same level of connection in a city with millions of people around?
It's a good question. I've actually lived in both small towns and big cities, and I've got to say I've felt the sense of community in both. It just kind of manifests in different ways.
I can see that.
Like in a village, it might be more about knowing all your neighbors and helping each other out with everyday tasks. But in a city, it might be about finding your tribe, like those groups of people who share your interests.
That's a really good point. It's not necessarily about the size of the community, but the quality of the connections within it.
Right. And speaking of quality, the speakers also talked about how village life often means closer proximity to nature. Like imagine waking up to birdsong every morning, having a garden in your backyard, just being surrounded by greenery. Sounds pretty idyllic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It really taps into that desire for peace and tranquility.
Yeah. But the speakers also mentioned a potential downside, right? The potential lack of access to certain facilities and services in a village.
Ah, yes. The trade-offs.
Exactly. Things like specialized healthcare, diverse educational options, certain job opportunities. They pointed out that these are often more abundant and diverse in cities.
It's true. Cities often have more to offer in terms of those kinds of resources.
So then they flip the script and start talking about city life. And they were clearly excited about the opportunities that cities offer. Education, employment, entertainment, the whole nine yards.
It's that sense of possibility, isn't it? The feeling that anything can happen in a city.
Exactly. They were also drawn to the diversity of cultures you find in cities and just that fast-paced dynamic energy you get.
It can be contagious, that energy, and for some people, it's exactly what they need to thrive.
I get that. I definitely feel a certain buzz when I'm in a big city. Like anything's possible.
Right.
But of course, the speakers acknowledged that it comes at a price.
There's always a trade-off.
Yeah, cities can be crowded, noisy, polluted. And sometimes that fast pace can get a little overwhelming.
It's all about finding that balance, I suppose, the allure of opportunity and excitement versus the challenges of high-density living.
Exactly. And the speakers in the video, they made it clear that neither lifestyle is inherently better.
Makes sense. It's all subjective.
Totally. It's about individual preferences, finding what suits your personality and your needs. What do you think, listener? Where do you think you'd thrive?
It's a question we all have to ask ourselves at some point, right?
Yeah.
What kind of environment aligns with our values and aspirations?
So true. And this video, even though it's about learning English, really gets you thinking about those bigger life choices.
It's a good reminder that these kinds of conversations can pop up in the most unexpected places.
Absolutely. And speaking of unexpected, the conversation in the video takes a little turn and starts to discuss pets.
Pets. Now that's an interesting twist. Well, it's not entirely random when you think about it.
Oh, how so?
Choosing to get a pet or not. I mean, it kind of involves a lot of the same considerations as choosing a place to live, right?
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
It's about weighing the pros and cons, thinking about your lifestyle, and ultimately making a decision that aligns with your personal preferences.
That's a really interesting way to look at it.
And in the video, they actually talk about a friend going through a breakup.
Oh, wow. So kind of a heavy turn in the conversation.
Yeah, a little bit. It gets kind of real.
Hmm.
You have one friend comforting the other after discovering, well, that their girlfriend had been unfaithful.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a pretty raw moment. You can really hear the pain in their voices. And it makes you think about well, how heartbreak is something we all face,
Hmm.
right? It doesn't matter if you live in a bustling city or a quiet village.
That's so true. It's like a universal human experience.
And it's interesting how they talk about it.
Yeah, how so?
The friend who's offering support, you know, th- they don't try to downplay the situation. They just acknowledge the pain, validate their friend's feelings, and offer words of encouragement.
It's just like being there for someone. No judgment.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder if the environment we live in, I don't know, if it maybe influences how we experience and cope with heartbreak.
Hmm. I hadn't really thought about it like that before.
Like maybe a close-knit village community acts as a built-in support system, but then again, maybe the anonymity of a city offers a certain freedom, to grieve and heal on your own terms.
Those are both really good points.
What do you think?
It's tough to say. I think it probably varies from person to person.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do like what you said about different environments fostering different coping mechanisms.
It's just something to think about, right?
Definitely.
Like maybe in a village you have that immediate comfort and support from neighbors and friends when something like this happens. But a city? Uh, A city might offer more space for solitude and reflection.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's fascinating how our surroundings can shape our experiences, isn't it?
Totally. And not just for heartbreak, but all kinds of emotions.
Mhm.
Joy, sadness, anger.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder if experiencing both village and city life could broaden our emotional range,
Yeah. Make us more adaptable.
more resilient in the face of challenges.
I like that.
It also ties back to what the speakers were saying earlier about balance, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Finding that sweet spot.
Maybe it's not about choosing one or the other, village or city,
Right.
but maybe it's about figuring out how to incorporate elements of both into our experience
Yeah, I like that.
through our social connections, our hobbies, maybe even just our mindset. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea.
Like, could you create those pockets of peace and community even within a bustling city? Or seek out opportunities for growth and excitement even in a quiet village?
Yeah,
It's about thinking creatively, right?
definitely.
About how we can design our lives to experience the best of both worlds.
And it all comes back to individual choice, doesn't it?
It always does.
Just like deciding between village and city life,
Mhm.
or whether to have a pet, figuring out how to navigate heartbreak and find that sense of balance. It's
Mm.
all part of this personal journey.
So true. And in the video, they shift gears yet again.
Really? Where do they go next?
Well, they start talking about language,
Language.
specifically about how to improve your English speaking skills.
Okay.
Yeah. They start talking about how to improve your English speaking skills.
Okay. How to improve your English.
Mm-hmm. They specifically suggest recording yourself speaking, like as a way to build confidence and identify areas for improvement, kind of see where you're stumbling.
That's actually a really good tip.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, they underestimate how helpful that is.
It can be a bit daunting though, right? Hearing your own voice.
Oh, totally.
But I think it's really effective to pinpoint those areas where you need more practice.
Yeah. Like sometimes you don't even realize you're making certain mistakes until you hear yourself say it out loud.
Exactly. And it ties back to what we were talking about earlier, stepping outside your comfort zone.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. It's just like moving to a new city or taking up a new hobby. Trying something new can feel scary.
Definitely. But it's often in those moments of discomfort where we learn and grow the most.
I completely agree. I feel like we often avoid things because we're afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah.
But what if?
Yeah.
What if we kind of flip that script? What if we embraced those mistakes?
Oh, I like that.
Saw them as opportunities to learn and grow.
That's a great way to look at it.
Like whether it's navigating a new city, learning a new language, I don't know, even just figuring out how to bake a cake.
Yeah.
The journey is just as important as the destination.
So true.
It's through those
Yeah,
stumbles and fumbles. That's how we develop resilience and how we discover new things about ourselves.
I love that.
Right. It's like they say, the magic happens outside of our comfort zones.
Absolutely. And speaking of magic, this English language lesson, the one we've been diving into,
Yeah.
it's really sparked some magical conversations for us today.
It really has. We've explored village versus city life, relationships,
Mhm.
And now even the power of language itself.
It just goes to show you never know where you're going to find inspiration.
So true. What started as a deep dive into an English lesson, I don't know, it's really turned into a fascinating exploration of what it means to live a meaningful and fulfilling life.
No matter where we choose to call home.
Exactly. And with that, we'll leave you to ponder all these big questions, dear listeners.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.